What are you? What are you? What are you that you have not been told that you are? You can give me a name. The name was given to you. How can you be words given to you by another? Are you a believer in a traditional religion? The concept of believing was told to you by another. Are you a patriot of a country? The ideology of belonging to a nation, to a piece of ground born onto, was educated into you by another. What are you exactly that has not been educated into you? What identities do you have in your psychological roaming daily memory-founded processes of thinking which are not reflections of something you have been told, read about, heard, or been led into believing? Is there a single thing? If you consider yourself to be your given name, to be a Christian or a Muslim, or a Jew, or an American, or a Brit, or an Australian, if you consider yourself ideologically leaning to the left or to the right, if you consider yourself important or noble, an aristocrat or royalty, or just an average Joe, the majority of what you think you are, including religiously, in which we are led to believe we come to find life's security, a peep into the written, recorded operational structure of this universe, all has been handed down to you and accepted by you in life, mostly at a relatively young age, when you were too young to understand the value of questioning and too trusting to doubt anything at all. As you grew older, as you came to witness that all carry some inward form of such learned identification, the brain comes to find security in the securities it has been given, but never questioned. It conforms. It seeks to fit in. We stand within our minds on unchallenged educational concepts, centuries old in their continuity, and these form the basis of all of our thinking, and our thinking forms the basis of all of our life actions. This is quite a problem we face. No one Christian thinks a lot about Muhammad, and no one Jewish thinks a lot about Jesus. No one American very much cares for the lives of African or Indian children. No aristocrat cares for the poor, and no poor cares for the aristocrat. Royalty and certain privileged long-standing societal positions sit traditionally above us all for centuries, and we live cold and isolated in their continuing shadows. And all and every one of these patterns in our lives, in our nations, in our religions, in our learned ideologies is an education. We have been told and accepted what we are by another, and we live within this pattern. I wonder why all of humanity were gifted brains. For most of us, the reason today appears to be to remember accurately what another has told. This is how we live. We live on the accepted ground of what we are, passed on traditionally by another. And some of what is accepted by us is very old indeed. A prince in the British royal family today sits in a psychological and physical position which is unchanged in our society for over 1,000 years. A Christian has sat in a psychological framework and a physical church for over 2,000 years. And a Hindu has been present in our society, get this, for an estimated 10,000 years. Do these handed down traditional securities, which naturally divide us in life, for they are divisive between us, hold any true value or meaning to us other than that which we have been educated to give them? Or are these only repetitive, unquestioned, psychological, educated movements of little established meaning? Please, don't shoot me. We are only investigating. These beliefs, these ideologies, this societal training each of us endures as a child sets our lives up for what is coming. It becomes the ground of all of our rational thinking. And if the information provided and accepted which generates our rational thinking is not founded on absolute truth, then we are in trouble, and we are in trouble. Truth has an interesting nature. It is identical for every single man. There can never be my truth or your truth, for division is the very denial of truth. What may have divided is an opinion, belief, or tradition, but truth is never, in its nature, divisive. If I am seeing clearly and you are seeing clearly, the truth will be seen as the same by each of us, but we do not see clearly. And the reason we do not see clearly is that we live behind the inner projection of what we know. And what we know is this unquestioned educated information which we have accepted as children, passed on traditionally by our elders, as the same was passed on to them. Is a written formula handed down by another a ground of peace for humanity to rest his head? Or are we now discovering the ground of divisions between our people, and a very intricate problem? A problem because if we each continue to find our security within these divisive educated beliefs and ideologies, which form a background from which our thinking arises and from which we naturally come to act from within life, then we inevitably and repeatedly must come to bloody conflicts and wars. Do you see why? Because we are each continually projecting onto the world important values for us, which are divisive in nature between us. We hold different truths up to the world, and none of our truths have ever been questioned, none established by ourselves and for ourselves as true. Many of our educated, knowledge-based identities even forbid the possibility of questioning, and so one can never come to one's own understanding of life. One's understanding of life is now forever second-hand, forever a process of continuing traditionally and blindly that which has been handed down to me by another in a long line of continuous obedience. These educated traditional beliefs and identities become what I consider myself to be, and so I naturally defend what I see as the very essence of my being with the entirety of my being. And each of us is doing this, and each of us stands on a ground not of our own making. We have been led into belonging to a tribe, and tribes always war. Is the understanding of life something to ever be accepted from another? Is understanding of life held in knowledge, provided and handed down in perpetual continuity? Is this intelligence? Or is this unrecognized utter folly? We are in a terrible trap, it seems, because of that which is destroying our world presently is divided energy arising from the limited and divided knowledge each of us holds, finds security living within, and so seeks to continue and grow in this world. And because we all naturally divide, because we have never taken the time to actually establish truth for ourselves in life, which would be the same for each one of us, because we live now on these accepted, educated, principled concepts and ideologies, we have built this chaotically divisive society where every man stands against every other, each seeking domination. Our order today inevitably has become the disorder of totalitarianism, as one divided outlook always seeks the authoritarian position that their inner values may rule the roost and come to command. We all feel we have that right. Our beliefs and our ideas educated into us are the only truths. There is a solution to our life problems, to every one of them, but it is no quick fix. This is a long-standing problem, as old as mankind himself, so we must have diligent patience in coming to a solution, and the solution will be found within the problem itself. We need to get this absolutely right, and yet we must act as quickly as we possibly can, for our world is burning today. We must come to our own understanding of our lives. We must come to question everything. And we must begin with what we are. Where else would we look to understand ourselves. In a book, we will find, when we look, that we are all the same, identical in nature. Although we live behind a divisive billion images, we all live behind divisive images. We are all living in inner psychological concepts of identifiable self, of religion or not, of ideology and of class, of our position within this broken, corrupted society. We are these educated concepts. We find security in living as these inner concepts, derived inwardly from the knowledge of what I have been continuously told I am, and how I have therefore lived psychologically. And how we live psychologically dictates the society we come to build. This is all our past, and our past is dead and over, and yet it lives continuously within the realm of our thinking, and we continue to hand down this past to new arriving generations. And so the loop of destruction between our people, between humankind, has never been broken. May we be privileged enough to be the version of humanity which breaks this insanity. This is not a film to deeply explore such issues, and one can learn so much more exploring the actual phenomenon of oneself directly than ever from a film. It is the divided human psyche which is destroying our world. It is this very movement today, claiming to be bringing our world to rights, which is lighting the touch paper to bring it all burning down. For no one in our world has capacity to act in the interests of all of us, and it will always be this way, man against man, brother against brother, until we come to understand the actual truths of our lives. And perhaps to do so, we need do nothing other than put down that which is untrue, that which has never been questioned, that which has merely been accepted. A divided race of people, which we are, will never know harmony and peace in their world, obviously. And what divides us are the traditional brain-conditioned movements of divisive identification which were educated into all of us as children. This is of paramount importance for us all to come to understand.